Hello ladies and gents, in a video brought to you by AntRus. In today's video we'll be messing about with my Messor, and that's all my Messors. That includes my Messor Barbarus, my Messor Minor Hasperium and my Messor Arenarius, which are just massive by the way. And I'm sure you guys are bored of hearing about my Patreon page, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. If you've watched my other videos, you know what it's about. I'll put a link in the description below, but I can't end this video without saying super thanks to these guys here who have helped me out tremendously with this. So thank you AntRus, Adrian, David, PJ Grant and of course Wakushi. Thanks guys, it's appreciated. Now if you cast your mind back to my last video about my Messor Barbarous, and I'll put them to the top right corner now, I tried to move them into this Antboy UK blackout nest, which is supposed to be meant for Messors, but yeah, they didn't like it. And if you remember rightly, this was the one that did the best out of the two Messor Barbarous that I got. And if you look into the bottom right corner of this picture now, you'll see there's a lot of dead there, more than I expected. Yes, I've not done any maintenance on them for about a week now because the Messors, they're cool on their own, but there's still a lot of dead. So I decided to check it out. This is a nest from Messor Aciculatus. Now, it's the first nest I've got as his, and he kindly gave me it along with a large one as well to review and stuff like that. Now, I'm kind of edging away from reviews because I've been bit in the ass when I've done a review, thought the product was good, and actually turns out to be quite pants. So now I'm testing them on ants before I look at doing a proper review on them, and that's what I'm doing with this now. Well, that was the plan, to put these ants, this colony, into this nest. But as you'll see from this video here, that didn't quite work. As you can clearly see, the queen is dead. Now, really disappointing. I mean, it's dead in the outworld as well. I should have seen it coming, but I thought that the nest they're in was pants and I needed to move them. I can move them to that Aciculatus, but that plan's now been kiboshed because this colony is all extent going to die. So I'm just going to leave them where they are until they all die off now. But all is not lost for my Messor Barbarous, because I have a second colony, which is these guys here, that's in the Wakushi Venus nest attached to an outworld, well, one of my small outworlds from AliExpress. These guys are booming still and they're doing really well in this nest, especially compared to the Antboy one. The Antboy nest isn't rubbish per se, I just really struggle to maintain the humidity levels in it, and I find that when I fill the reservoir up, it leaks out the side of it, which also leaks into the nest. And the problem with the Wakushi nest is this right here. As soon as you open that top up, they all get out like this lady did. So the truth is, both have their faults, but because of my lifestyle and I only check my ants to do maintenance on them maybe twice a week, that humidity issue for the Antboy nest is a big one. And there's a good clip there of some ant bread if you check it out. But anyway, you can see from this colony, they're doing really well. They've got a good pile of brood, not as big as they've had previously, but compared to the other colony, they're booming. The queen is running around like a blue-arsed fly because that's just generally how she rolls. And the colony's doing really well. And I'm really pleased with them because they're looking cool. Now, they seem to do really well in the Wakushi nest, and this idea that Messors don't need really humidity because of the background humidity, I think I found with that Antboy nest that is actually false. You do need to make sure they've got a good supply of humidity, and don't just use the ambient humidity that you get in the UK climate. And before I get, because I've already forgotten it, the ant bread, they also feed it to the adults as well. That's why they don't really require much carbohydrates in the form of honey water, and they generally only take honey water if they're thirsty or need the moisture. So bear that in mind, guys. But I will say I do feed these still some cockroaches to give them that extra boost of protein. But let's move on to my Messor Minor Hasperius. Now just look at these ladies. They are beautiful. I think they're one of the prettiest Messors that I've got, that I've ever seen. But wait until you see the Arenarius. But these guys are something else. I've actually done a dedicated video on these girls, and you can check that out in the top right corner now. And you can see where I do an introduction to them. I actually got these as a gift, well, as a competition winner from AntRus. So I'll put a link in their description below as well. As you can see from that video to this one, they are doing really, really well, and they're just so gorgeous. And look at that, I've even got a nice little batch of eggs as well, fresh eggs. So hopefully they're doing really well. But as you can see from this photo, the test tube is bone dry and they really need to be moved on now. Even though size-wise, they're not really ready for it. As you can see here, they've still got bags of space in the test tube, but I think I need to move them now. And not only that, I need to update, give them some more seeds, and they really need a nest, so they've got different areas to store it in. So I've decided to use this aesthetic ants nest to see how they get on. Now, as you can see here, it actually sits on a tray, and you can fill at the ends. These parts here can fill up the different respective reservoirs, and you've got some vents that allow the humidity to go through. Now, these vents don't actually cover them completely because they allow ventilation into the nest, which is a good idea to be fair. But when I've tested this, the humidity generally sits at 70%, which is quite high, and that doesn't really matter which one I fill in. So what I'm going to do is, I know it's the high end of what Messors want because it's 50 to 70%, but I'm going to risk it for a biscuit because I think they'll be all right. I don't think they're going to be in direct contact with the water, so I don't have to worry about my seeds germinating, which would be a massive nightmare. So I'm going to give it a go. So I've decided to water the smallest area to give it the least amount of humidity because, like I said, it's the top end for Messors. And this is what I'm talking about, filling it up at the end and filling the whole thing up. You can actually do this with them on as well, with the nest on top of it as well. This nest doesn't really fit my standard tubing, but I have got some narrow stuff that fits nice and snug, so it's not a major issue for me at all, to be fair. Now what I did with this tubing, I wanted to keep it nice and short because I haven't got a lot of space on my foundation shelf, so because it's quite busy there with all the different colonies I've got. So I wanted to keep it nice and short, but I'll come a cropper with that later, and I will show you it in a bit. So I've cut this nice and short so I can attach it to the nest, and I've sped it up because this bit will take forever to explain, and I just haven't got that much to say about it, to be fair. But anyway, so I'm connecting it up nice and snug, and I'm sorry about my hands, I've been mowing the lawn and I've got a bit of green finger, but it fits it nice and snug. It's nice and level, everyone's happy and I'm happy. But when I put the tray on the bottom, as you can see here, it doesn't fit nice and snug and level anymore. So I think from aesthetic ants, what I would like to see with this is maybe do a bit of a step thing, so it steps down so you can keep stuff nice and flush still. Yes, I could have extended the tubing to be longer so it did sit more flush, but even then it would still be slightly raised, and space is a finite item for me at the moment, so it's not really viable. But I will keep you posted on how the aesthetic ants does with these Messors. But anyway, let's go on to the big girls. Now here is the queen of the Messors. This is the Messor Arenarius. She is huge. I'm talking tank compared to other Messors. I'll show you a picture of an extra ruler in a sec, but the majors, super majors, get just as big as she does, but I haven't got any yet. I've got majors like there, but no super majors. And check this out. This is the ant bread that they make yet again, but you can actually see young feeding on it. And that's what they make this ant bread for. They feed the young to give them the protein and the carbohydrates, as well as the adults for the carbohydrates. So they live off this stuff. Now, as far as Messors go, these ants are as cool as cucumbers. Not much bothers them, to be honest. And when they do get disturbed, you'll often see the queen running out to defend the nest as well, because she's obviously a psychopath that doesn't have much regard for her own life and a colony. But anyway, I digress. If you look here though, you can see I've got a great number of brood. Yes, they're slow growing. I've only got about 30 and I've had them since the start of the season, I think. Can't quite remember. But yeah, they've got quite a nice number of brood. They're doing really well and they're really healthy as well. So I'm really chuffed with them. And they're just so big. I mean, they're huge. In fact, I've got, like I said before, I've got a picture of the queen next to ruler. Check it out. I mean, take a look, man. This queen's easily touching over 2 centimetres, and when I get the super majors, they're just going to be just as big. They're going to be huge. Now, the colony doesn't grow massive anyway, so they're probably about a third of the strength of what they do when they're fully grown, which is around 100 plus numbers. Now, I originally said in the video when I first introduced it, and I put it on the top right corner now, that they can be up to a couple of thousand strong, but I get conflicting information on that one, so wait out, see how big mine grow, and I'll tell you the truth. Now these girls do predominantly feed on seeds, as you've seen with the ant bread going on there as well. And I've not fed them any protein for over a week in the arts of a cockroach, but as you've seen from the video before, which obviously bad editing from me, you can see that they do take the protein. Now I was actually trying to get this cover off so I can get in there and sort out all these seeds everywhere, but as you'll see from here, I end up messing it up. I've not attached an outworld to these guys yet because they don't necessarily need it, to be honest. They're quite happy where they are. I've got a nice pile of brood, so I'm quite content to leave them in the Venus nest. But yet again, Venus nest has shown its limitations, and yet again, I could, like I have with my shield ants, which I haven't shown you guys yet. I need to do an episode on my shield ants. They're actually in a Rakushi nest as well, which I've got an outboard attached to it. And this little poddy area here, I expected them to fill them full of rubbish, and they didn't, and let it be. So here's me trying to take this out, and I fail miserably and just give up. I think what I'm going to have to do is block off the test tubes, disconnect the test tubes when they're settled, block them off, so I can actually get access to this and clean it out properly. But like I said, that's a pain in the bum for this nest. But like I said, I do like it though, I do. And finally, my Messor Circulators, but it's not good news, guys. My Circulators are still alive. This is them now as of, I've got about 50 or so plus workers left, but look, this is the Queen's head and the butt. Just call it the bucks, I can't remember the name. She's in the graveyard area, been cut up as well, so it's index for this colony, unfortunately. So I'll just leave them be until they slowly die off now. Now, I do actually want to get some more different messors, so if you can think of a messor that I haven't got yet, by all means, leave a comment telling me what it is, because I want to check them out, because I'm getting a strange obsession with messors right now. I think they're great. But anyway, I'll stop talking rubbish. That's it for today then, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check out the AntRus website, the Ant Daily website, Kushi's website, my Patreon website, and every website you can think of. I'm going to shut up now. See you in my next video. Bye-bye for now.